Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm going to be doing another special call-in. So people that, if they want to call in, they can. I'm going to do this thing tonight and maybe not do call-ins for a while. So I think tonight what's going to happen is that I want to get some impressions of how things are going with people, what's going on in the news in their area. The latest thing that happened was this researcher was found dead. There's a video out there that was released about 23 hours ago by NTD, China in Focus, that states that the title of the video is "Virus Researcher Dead in Suspected Murder." So it looks like a Chinese researcher. Maybe people know a little bit about it. I haven't been able to take a look at the news lately, basically because I've been in lectures since 12 o'clock today, and I just finished. So, 9.5 hours almost of solid lectures. So it's been pretty busy for me today. So I haven't been able to watch the news. So maybe if somebody can call in and let me know about what's going on in your area, or if you want to talk about that researcher that was killed in China, that would be good. Get your perspective, and I'll give the number out. So this is kind of a little bit of a special. I just finished a presentation about TAT protein trying to help with treatment for GBS, peripheral nervous system disorders. So I figured I'd take some calls. So here we go. Hopefully everyone's doing all right. Everyone's safe and sound. I know, some people are getting stressed out, and so if you want to talk about whatever, you want to talk about the weather, you want to talk about what's going on with Korean baseball, that's fine too. Ready? Here we go. Can you hear me? Sound check. Sound check. Can you hear me now? A little bit better? Better? Hopefully it's better. Okay. So give me a call. Here we go. Hopefully it sounds better. But I heard that there was a researcher in China that was killed, but I haven't been able to watch the video. So if someone has seen the video and wants to inform me, that'd be great. Nobody wants to talk to me. It's amazing. But what was happening in my world today was a lot of lectures. A lot of lectures. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Hello? Dr. Paul speaking. How you doing?
Hey, my live?
Yeah.
All right. This is Nick from Kentucky.
Wait, hold on, Nick. Hold on. Just let me just double check the sound here because some people are saying that the sound's a little low here. So can you hear the sound,
Yeah.
guys? No,
Uh,
better. Okay, so go ahead.
okay. I just got a real simple question.
So you're from Kentucky, right?
Yeah, in Kentucky. Things are kind of slowed down a bit here. I think starting to reopen in Louisville.
My cousin is in Louisville, Kentucky. He's actually a PhD in psychology, and he moved down there years ago. Maybe it was pre 9/11, I think. And he's he has his practice down there. But I've been down to Louisville, Kentucky once. It was pretty cool. It was in the summer.
But yeah, I was just main concern on this corona. The thing that really bothers me about all of it now, without knowing really how many people have it, seems like they would really have to test everybody, eh? Like everyone. How can they really say what the death rate is without really knowing the true number?
Well, I mean that's the thing. I mean the thing is for them to. Well, this is the difference between what is called the population versus the versus a sample. All right, you don't really know what the population really is unless you test everyone. But there's so many people in the country. The best that we can do is some sort of statistical analysis. So
That's respect.
but there's always going to be some problems with that. Um, but there is a power in numbers when you're doing statistical sampling. But the thing is it has to be randomized for it to work correctly. But you're right. I mean, as we find out more and more people have antibodies or are confirmed with current SARS-CoV-2, and you look at the current death rate or the current number of deaths, that the death rate will start to go down. So yeah, you're right. I mean, the more cases that we can prove that have been SARS-CoV-2 confirmed, the death rates will go down. But I mean, that's true with anything. You got to remember, this is an evolving situation. We've only had this, even though a lot of people think that this has been going on for a long time, and it feels like it mentally. But this thing's only been in the United States, for 2.5, 3, 4 months. That's it. So I mean, we really don't have enough data.
That brings up another point. So, back in 19, say October, November, December even, my feeling about it all is before the travel ban, it had to been here. Had to been. For weeks or months. Would I be wrong for thinking that?
I think that the United States probably had it in November.
Okay.
But I don't think there were that many cases. And and over time it became more and more. But I suspect that it was in. I was thinking it was in near late November, but some people are saying possibly even October in the United States, which is possible. I mean, but I didn't start seeing epidemiological curves showing, huge flu-like symptoms in New York climbing until December 18th. So New York State didn't really start seeing a difference in number of like um, upper or lower respiratory infections until about December 18th compared to last year. And that's a good sign that something happened unique this year compared to last year.
Right.
But some states, some people have had some anecdotal, signs saying that they had it in November and December. And that it lasted for 2-3 weeks. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. I think it happened. I think it was in the United States before January, but how far back I don't know. I'm thinking November.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why is that there was a lot of people going back and forth for the holidays. See, I'm thinking like the grad students. The grad students, went back home or had parents fly in to see them during the holiday season, and that's when it started. That's my gut feeling, coming from China.
Right. Well, thank you for all your hard work.
So how you doing? You're feeling okay? Family members are okay, and
everything's good here. I haven't known anyone so far. I'm not a real popular guy, but I directly haven't been affected.
well, it's good. You just stay healthy.
Yeah.
Are you taking like vitamin C and D3 and stuff to boost your immune system, or?
I do a multivitamin, just not real health conscious myself. I'm a smoker, so I don't have a lot going for me.
You gotta stop smoking, man.
Yeah. I know.
My mother was a smoker for 40 years, and she's got severe COPD. So if you can, try to quit.
I think about it every time. It's just
You save so much money too.
waiting for that day. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But just try to stay healthy, how's things going in terms of are people going to be going back to work anytime soon in your area?
Yeah, they're starting the phases kind of, so I can definitely see a huge uptick in traffic the last 3 or 4 days. You could tell people are just out. I don't know out doing what, but they're a lot more. Traffic is the main thing I want to say. Noticed the roads were quite, and now they're quite a bit more cars. Noticeably, a lot of difference in the last 3 or 4 days.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's a good sign. Are they walking around in masks or?
Oh yeah. I think the Wally World has the mandatory mask, but as far as I know, everybody else is just by recommendation. So I think a lot of our people are trying to stay socially distanced.
Well, that's it's important to do, but I mean, eventually we're going to have to go back to our old ways. But the question is how long is it going to take? How long do you think it's going to take before we go back to our our social selves? Do you think it's months, years, or do you think it's just weeks away?
I think the sooner if we get back together, we're just playing with the higher numbers, honestly. And if the socially distancing were to work, then it needs to continue to work. Putting everybody back to work doesn't seem like that's going to work. There might be a lot of dead people.
Well, I think I just released a model today. I think it was today. All my days just blend together now. I don't get that much sleep. But I think it was today that I released the model. Maybe it was yesterday. But I have 4 new cases out there. I'm just updating what I think is going to happen with the financial market for the S&P 500 and the the different cases for number of confirmed and deaths and the reason why I think of those four different cases, assuming either one wave, two waves, or three waves. So I personally think that as long as we don't have a second wave, we're we're in decent shape. The question is there some sort of chronic infection or something chronic about this bioweapon that we don't know of yet that pops up later? It can be chronic with the people that have the severe, scarring in the lung, or it could be that it's chronic in the sense that it downregulates the immune system for a long time, and it's some sort of cancer pops up in 5 years. Most cancers take a while to grow. I mean, some cancers grow fast, but most cancers, once they start slow, and then they reach a certain point, and then they start to rapidly divide. But are we going to see strange cancers in the lung or in other organs? Possibly even in the bone marrow. Who knows? But it's a big question. What type of chronic presentation it's going to take? I don't know.
And we're in the second or third wave. Like you said, that could be a big issue. I think we're going back to it's a spread. Oh.
Well, I just being positive, and trying to eat healthy, and you can't let this thing take you down. We have to take some risks in the United States. And if we take risks in the United States, we'll get through this. There's going to be people that get hurt when we go back to work and when we get out of shelter in place. That's for sure. But we have learned a lot about this virus in the last 2.5 months. We still need to learn a lot more, and we'll continue learning for years about what really happened. But we have to take risks, and we can't let another $4 trillion in our economy get eroded. And we're pushing 35 million people that are laid off, something like that.
Our national debt is something unspeakable.
Oh, I know. I mean, total national debt is you can't even count it now. But I mean, just this shutdown has eroded over $4 trillion of our GDP. Just this crisis alone, let alone all the debt that we have. So, but we have to move forward. We can't be scared. And I think that was my main point yesterday, was that the American spirit is to just keep on persevering. We'll figure a way, and better days will come. But we also have to tell the powers that be that an investigation should be taking place on Birx, Redfield, and Fauci, and others that are involved. And these people need to be prosecuted. They need to be investigated and prosecuted. And then if they're found guilty in a court of law, they should be tried they should be hung for treason.
Right. So is anybody going further with the paper trail on this thing, or is it?
Well, Judicial Watch is looking into Fauci's, history. I know that they filed information acts to try to get records.
Good.
So Judicial Watch is doing their part. I heard something was going on with Veritas. I think I heard that about 3 days ago, maybe. And George Webb has been, investigating this, a lot. If you want more in-depth information about Fauci and the gang, please go to his YouTube site. It's George Webb. And I have him on my channel a bit, so if you watch some of his stuff, he can. Yeah, I mean, he's a wealth of knowledge, and I highly recommend you watching his channel if you want to understand the key players and what was going on in the weapons program. But Fauci and the gang needs to be investigated, and if found guilty, needs to be hung for treason.
By the neck till death. I think this might be the biggest scandal of the century.
Yeah, I mean, you think about all the people that have been playing around with biological weapons. They let it out. They let it out, and then they tell the public that, at first they tell the public that it's zoonotic. Then they tell the public it's only CCP, and the reality is it's a USA CCP virus.
Right.
And it's like what we had was a runaway Defense Department that was doing things that they shouldn't have, and then what happened was it got so dangerous they decided to outsource it. And and if you really look at it, there has been in the last 25 years a slow plan to dismantle America. And it starts in manufacturing. I mean, I was born and raised in Michigan, and I was an automotive engineer for a long time, all right? And, and people don't understand that automotive engineering is a very complex set of different disciplines. There is nothing that mankind makes that the average person buys as complicated as a car. A computer isn't anywhere near as complicated as a car. Every single type of engineer is involved in car manufacturing. You got manufacturing engineers, you have design engineers, you have structural engineers, you have chemical engineers, you have electrical engineers. You have so many different types of engineering for automotive. There is nothing that a commercial product that is offered to the public as complicated as an automobile. And what we did was we tried to dismantle Michigan, by sending it, sending it through NAFTA, and then eventually to India and to China. And we slowly destroyed the economic clustering that the automotive industry created for the United States. And it was the automotive industry that allowed for us to build the tanks, to build the planes that killed Hitler and his goons that we called fascism, Nazism. It was Detroit that did it. Detroit, Michigan built those planes and those tanks. And what they basically did was they were trying to dismantle America, to slowly weaken us, and for us to slowly turn into a socialistic country. And I think we have enough people awake now to realize that we need to bring back our jobs. We need to bring back making America the economic prowess that we used to be. We can do this. And I think that this virus has woken the spirit of America to the point where we're going to realize, you know what, we're not going to buy Chinese products anymore. We're not going to let socialism creep into our lives. And we're going to rebuild the economic clustering that we had, right after World War II. So this is the time for a rebuilding of America, I see. But we got to get past this crisis. We will, but we also have to investigate and prosecute the people involved. And if they are found guilty, they need to be eliminated. They need to be hung for treason, because what they were doing is they were in my mind, they are domestic enemies. They are traitors. So everyone that was trying to deconstruct America, and the ones that were specific to this weapons program, need to be hung for treason.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure there's a lot of players. Only time will be able to.
And there's some people in the chat room that's even mentioning. KA is mentioning also. There's war with China and that, but there's a war crime thing that's going on here. Fauci's a war criminal in my mind. But so is the CCP. Certain people in the CCP, they also have to be prosecuted. It may be a Nuremberg type trial. Because think about how many people died in the world because of this crazy thing that they let out. They should have never made it. But that again, that's with a Defense Department in the U.S. and a Defense Department in China that thought that they knew better.
It's completely out of control.
Right. And then we have these governors that want to try to erode our civil liberties and tell us that we can't go and go buy milk. It's ridiculous. And then they'll force this vaccine program too on us. That's why we all have to band together and say no. We've got to say no to this BioPatriot Act in any form that they're trying to create. And I've been hearing some protests that are being planned for is it Memorial Day that's coming up?
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's Memorial Day. Or Labor Day, one of the two. No one's working, so it can't be Labor Day. So I think it's Memorial Day. But whatever holidays that's coming up, that people are starting to galvanize for maybe a nationwide protest. Or maybe is it Veterans Day? I don't know, but whatever. There's a holiday that's coming up that people are starting to plan that I've heard.
Yeah, May.
Labor Day at the end of Labor Day. Maybe it's Labor Day.
Yeah.
Memorial Day. Memorial Day's in May.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's Memorial Day. But bottom line is that we've been sheltered in place for too long. Everyone's been stuck in the house. No, it's time to live our lives and take some risks. And yes. We have a serious problem. We got to deal with it, but we can't let fear keep us in our homes, and we can't let fear erode our Constitution, and we can't let fear allow these socialists to move their programs forward that they've had in plans for 35 years or more. You still there?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about how we're supposedly draining the swamp. I guess he got some garbage out, but it just wasn't enough time for him. Now, I don't know. I honestly didn't think Mr. Fauci was going to be around as long as he's.
I thought when the heat, came, that he would be, there would be maybe a firing or something from Trump. I'm surprised he hasn't fired him yet.
Yeah,
here's the problem: he's so old. He's so old, and he's already got his little pension. He's already got his fame. He's already got his money. That even if he is forced out, he's still sitting pretty. That's why it's important to investigate this guy. Criminally, and say, hey, what did you, ask him, what did you know, and when did you know it, and how much money did you feed to the CCP?
You get, Wow.
But we need to prosecute these people, and we need to move forward and not be in fear. But there is an issue out there. There is an issue out there. To say that there's not an issue is, we do have an issue, and we'll figure a way out around it. But forced vaccines is not the answer. People should have the option to choose.
Oh, absolutely. I don't see nothing good, man. I hate to be a predictor, but that Boston Tea Party moment might really happen.
I'm starting to think that it is. I'm starting to think that it is. There's, we're getting closer to that groundswell where people are getting so fed up with, the government pushing certain policies and this. I live in New York, so I see these police officers and they're running around with military grade equipment. Why do they need that?
Right, and the drones.
Yeah, and the drones and stuff. And it's just going to get worse. It's just going to get worse. So we got to tell them no. And then there was a protest the other day. I think it was on Sunday. Was it Sunday or Saturday, I don't remember, in New York, where they were protesting by City Hall, which is in Lower Manhattan, right off of Broadway, and they it's by the 6 train station, just past Fulton Street, but they were protesting a little bit, and then the police came in and broke it all up, saying that it was under the order of the governor to break up the protest. You believe that? I mean, what right does the governor have to not allow people to peacefully assemble, especially when it comes to their, policies that are eroding their civil liberties? They're protesting about the erosion of their First Amendment rights, but yet, Governor fascist Cuomo, it wants to take away that First Amendment right to peacefully assemble. And they didn't do anything wrong, and it was and there were a few people that are internet, they have internet shows that were filming it, and they weren't people weren't being violent or anything like that. There was no reason for them to disband the protest. But what it is just fascist Cuomo. But where was CNN? Where was MSNBC? When this happened, or what just happened the other day? Was it last night or yesterday? But I saw the article this morning where the police in New York were dragging someone out of their apartment dealing with COVID-19. You see that article? You type in, when you have a chance on your computer, violent police attack. All right, and then something will come up, and there's a film. It's a film that took place in New York City about, I don't know, maybe about 23 hours ago.
Wow.
There was one article in the New York Times, and there was another article I saw in the Washington Post. But it's ridiculous. It's the same thing that we saw with China in Wuhan, where the police were dragging people out.
Right.
Yeah, and they were just beating the citizen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it's just, the police are out of control. Not all police are like that, but we're seeing in high density areas where they can get out of control and the citizen doesn't have any recourse. Where are the journalists? Where are the real journalists? I'm talking about the mainstream. They're not real journalists, but I'm making a point here is that the quote professional journalists, they're not really publicly stating these atrocities that are taking place, that are eroding our civil liberties.
It's so controlled, the media, and so many people are just zombies, man. They don't get it.
In one of the chats, it's saying that the police are running on, emergency law measures. Well, that's the problem. Is just that they can just create an emergency law measure, and the police think that they have free reign. But the reality of the situation is just because you have an emergency law measure doesn't mean it is constitutional. And that's the big point here. And this is where the Juris Doctorates out there need to start suing people. They got the skill set. These lawyers have the skill set to protect us, and they're not stepping up to the plate in enough of a mass. They know what the government can do and what they can't do, but they're not stepping up to the plate because they're afraid they're going to be disbarred. The same thing.
Right.
This is a lot.
That's another damn thing. That's a ridiculous amount of we let go by in the last 60 or 80 years. It's just out of control.
Right.
It's completely out of control.
Right. We need to start suing. We need to start prosecuting people that were involved in this weapons program, and we need to start suing the actual the cities, the governors, and the police force for excessive force that's unconstitutional.
For sure. Oh, I know firsthand about that.
It's very clear in the Second Amendment that it was to prevent tyranny from the government, and the hand of the government's through the police. And if the police are out of control, then the citizens have the obligation to use force against the police. That's the only way to stop it. The police are out of control. It was very self-evident in that video. And where is where's the common sense? Where is the common sense? Where is the police commissioner's common sense that it's better to de-escalate and not to escalate in this situation? And they're escalating, and by escalating, it's going to piss off more and more of the population.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're going to gain a lot more fans beating them to death.
Mm-hmm. People aren't going to tolerate it. But if we start seeing more and more of these types of things that happened in New York, then you're going to start seeing a much more kinetic uprising in the country, which, maybe it's time. It's time for us to, start protecting our constitutional freedoms and not let this tyranny to continue. But I mean, I had a caller a long time ago. I don't know how long you've been listening to the channel, but I had a caller a long time ago, back in February, that I call him Texan. All right, that was his code name. But the Texan called his local health care department through a hospital in Texas. I don't remember if it was outside of Houston or Austin. Maybe it was Austin, but he stood up for his rights, and he called and said, "Hey, there's a problem. Do you know the reality of what you're dealing with?" And this is way before the CDC admitted the problems that we had. This is when we only had like maybe 30 cases in the United States, and they were all expats. And they called the police on him, saying that he was harassing the hospital, and everything was recorded. He recorded everything, and he sent me all of the videos, and even the officer that called him, at the very end of the video, that I think it's a 5-part series, but it's all the audio, and I released it on my channel. This is back in February, and the last call was the police officer calling the Texan, and he was being really nice at the very beginning, and the Texan was saying, I didn't do anything wrong, I was just informing my healthcare professionals. I was, making sure that they understood the gravity of the situation. And the police officer near the end was threatening him. And I'm not exaggerating. It's all the proof is in the video, is in the audio that I released on my channel. And the picture of the video is a police officer with a gun pointing at the viewer. But the bottom line is that the police officer in Texas, with this particular caller, trying to inform his healthcare professionals that they had a serious problem in February, way before the CDC admitted, and he was threatened by the police in his local area. And now what we fast forward to where we're at right now, where we're in May 6th. And we have police officers pulling people out of buildings in New York City because they're not doing the things that, quote, the law is telling them to do. They're treading on fascist territory right now.
Oh, big time. Big time.
This is not just like an idiosyncratic thing. This is not like a one-off. There is. I'm starting to see more and more data points where the police are becoming more and more belligerent with this particular event, and we got to do something about it. And we need to talk to our representatives and say, hey, it's our tax dollars that's paying for those pensions. Why are they getting a better pension than the average person can with their retirement? The average person doesn't retire as well as a police officer, but it's your tax dollars that's paying for it. And then they point out a gun when you're not wearing a mask. It's bullshit. So you want to see how fast that they change their tune. You say you can't have your fucking pension. You want to see how fast they change that tune? They'll stop being so belligerent on the population if you told them that their pension is going to be cut in half.
For sure.
And it should
I'm
be
from
cut in
the-
half. It should be cut in half
Like,
because we don't have the money.
Rodney King's still fresh on my mind.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
I've had something against the police brutality, and they overstep their bounds, and they do not really have correct training emotionally to be doing the job they do. It's a complete joke. I think they get these,
A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand how pensions work. I used to manage a portfolio professionally before I started, going into medicine. But now, how pensions work is that they're funded in a portfolio, and the portfolio has to make so much money to cover the pension costs. And there's some legal issues and things on the balance sheet that have to take place. But there are defined benefits and defined contribution pensions. Well, a defined benefit is where they basically say, okay, if you retire, then these are your payments. We guarantee them, and the pension fund has to find a way to pay for those payments. Then there's a defined contribution where the pension doesn't have to pay so much, and the onus for retirement is more on the pensioner. And then there is the 401ks. And, sometimes companies will contribute to a 401k based on a certain percentage, and some companies don't. But the bottom line is majority of these pensions that these municipalities have, they're defined benefit. I mean, they're the best pensions you can get. So if there is a shortfall in the pension fund, you know who pays for it? The taxpayers. So if the economy tanks, it's the taxpayers that will get taxed more to make sure that Johnny with the gun with the police, Johnny with the gun at the police, academy, make sure that he has his defined benefit pension, but yet COVID-19 has destroyed people's savings, and they no longer can retire, and they have to work another 15 fucking years. But Johnny with the gun, is throwing people out of their fucking home because they're not wearing a mask. It's bullshit, and we need to stop this. The best way to handle it is to force their pension to be cut.
They're just bullies, though. We don't have a real leg to stand on. All the politicians are corrupt. You can't get a damn. I don't know what to do. There's no good solution here. It's just
we have to occupy America. We have to get out and just start raising hell, like what happened during Occupy Wall Street, and say, hey, we're not going to do this. We're not going to have basically the platform for Occupy America is making sure we don't have a Bio-Patriot Act, and that we go back to a pre-9/11 day where we dismantle the surveillance state.
You got it. So what is that? What does that look like? 10 million people march on DC?
Ideally, no. I don't think it's a big march on one locale. It's thousands of people all over the country in their local localities, at their local state houses, at their local, city halls. It's thousands of people everywhere in America. It's not a 1 million march. 1 million marches only last for 1 or 2 days. We want something that is 1,000 people in every city hall around America. And that will be much, much louder. We need a Tet offensive against our own fucking government.
Okay, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because that's what the Viet Cong did in Vietnam. They did a Tet offensive and scared the shit out of everybody because they hit from so many different areas in Vietnam that the military decided to bail out. We need the same thing. We need a Tet offensive through Occupy America in every single city hall and state state hall. Yeah, and all you need is like 2,000 people for each one around America, and continuously protest.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big,
24/7.
I'm not a big fan of like the 1 million man or 1 million woman march, in Washington. That's not going to do anything. They'll just die out. But 1,000 person every day at a city hall it's gonna say something, and it has to be in every city, every state,
Right.
because this bullshit's got to end. Because if we don't, we're gonna have never-ending tyranny. So
It's gonna get worse by the
yeah,
day.
yeah. But we got power in numbers, and by doing a Tet offensive, by having it everywhere and not just local to DC, will be much more powerful. And it's very simple. We don't want decaching. We don't want forced vaccines. We don't want E7 to institute a surveillance grid. We don't want social scoring. We don't we don't want these forced vaccine programs to continue. And we want to go back to a pre-9/11 day where it dismantles the NSA, it dismantles the surveillance and the FISA system, and the FBI and the CIA. They've grown way too big. There's no reason for Homeland Security being as big as it is. We killed the bad guys in the Middle East, and it's time to go to a pre-9/11 day. I don't want a surveillance grid. I don't want the social scoring. And if we don't stand up now, we're not gonna be able to stop this. This is our moment in history. I mean, are you Gen X?
So yeah, no,
Yeah. So like in our time, it was in 1991 when we invaded Iraq. Now I was an undergrad at Wayne State in Detroit when they started doing the protests for invading Iraq. During Desert Storm. Well, it was our generation that fought that war. That was in 91.
Yeah.
So, and then it was our generation that fought Iraq too, right after 9/11. It was our generation that experienced the dot-com bubble. It was our generation that had to go through 9/11, had to go through that financial crisis, and had to fight the war, the never fucking ending war in the Middle East, and fight in Afghanistan, and fight in Iraq. And it was our generation, the Gen Xers, that had to persevere and see our savings erode, right after the Lehman crash. And then now our savings, we started getting back on our feet and seeing that, our job, that now our jobs are gone and our savings are gone because of this fucking Wuhan crisis. So our generation has been fucked over so many fucking times. It is time for us to wake up and start pulling some punches and telling the government to fuck off.
Yeah, we're getting rolled over, man. It's just unreal. It is unbelievable.
Yeah, and and our generation has fought for this country so many fucking times, going all the way back to Desert Storm. And this is how the government shits on us.
Our sick relatives from the previous fucking two wars as well.
Yeah, and and there's lots of people that that have been wounded and they have died for our country, and that have the Gulf syndrome problems, and our generation has done a lot, but because we don't have we don't have a lot of population for our generation. We're kind of like sandwiched in between the baby boom generation and the younger generation. We're kind of been sandwiched in terms of number of people that are in our generation. We've been looked down upon. No one's paying attention to us. But I'll tell you what, there's a fucking anger in our generation because of our adolescence that it's starting to boil. We're getting tired of this bullshit.
For sure.
But
we got to get some organization, or I don't know.
I'm trying to brand it as Occupy America, and it needs to be at your town halls and at your state halls, and it needs to be 1,000 or more people at each location. I'm not a big fan of the idea of a 1 million person march because I think that just dies out. But when you organize it locally, you're dealing with your local officials, and it's all organized locally. It doesn't need a central organization. We will win this if it's decentralized, because if it's a decentralized Tet offensive, where it's all happening at the same time, but there is no central coordination, there will be an emergent behavior within our Tet offensive where it'll force the government to do what we're saying. And that is, we don't want the Biopatriot Act of any form to happen. No decaching, no forced vaccines, an investigation on the Fauci gang and the Defense Department on their weapons program, and not instituting this E7 surveillance grid, and going back to a pre-9/11 day and dismantling some of the infrastructure that they had right after 9/11, like Homeland Security. I mean, it is bullshit that we still have the TSA and the stuff that we have to go through just to fly on a plane. And we definitely don't want to be tagged on ID 2020. So, this stuff, we need to just wake up and just, the Tet offensive has to happen. But I brand it colloquially as Occupy America. It's time for us to take back our Constitution. It's not that we're trying to overthrow the government or anything like that. What we're trying to do is save that American flag and what it means.
For sure.
It's the most patriotic thing that we can do, and honestly, I personally think that it's the biggest thing that our generation has to offer. Because what will happen is in the future, when they look and read about the history of our country, they're going to say, this was our moment, and we rose to the occasion, and we took back our country. And we didn't let this tyranny and fascism, reign. Because if we don't stand up, what's going to happen is they're going to move in that socialism, and we're going to turn into a communist country. And we're not going to have the prosperity that we used to have. We need to rebuild this country. So every person, every citizen in this country has the opportunity for prosperity. But it's not about central command. It's about localization, and it's about a grassroots movement in your local area and uprising. But it's a central theme. It's not centrally organized. The central theme is this: we don't want the Biopatriot Act. We don't want decaching. We don't want that E7 surveillance grid. We don't want the forced vaccines. We want the prosecution of Fauci and the gang and an investigation on the Defense Department and why the hell they've been doing these crazy weapon programs. And
what else?
Right, exactly. And there's no reason for the police having all these military grade weapons. So it's to go back to a more civilized world. We don't have the government against the people. Because if they keep on going this way, way, what will happen is they'll go kinetic, and we'll start burning shit down. We won't have an option. Because what's the option of not tearing it down? If they don't pay attention to us, what's the option? Take the vaccine? Take the chip? Accept your E7 grid? Allow for the tyranny to happen? Let the CC, rule your life. The CCP rule your life. I'd rather die than have that happen.
I'd rather die, exactly. Now the sheeple.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. I think so many people are just mindless and controlled by the media. They're so happy eating Doritos and watching Seinfeld that they can give two shits less. And, and that might be part of the huge problem. And I think this older generation, they're a little bit more guilty of it than maybe the Gen Xers or even the millennials. I'm not sure.
Well, I'll tell you what, the Gen Xers, I'll be honest, The Gen Xers in the aggregate, now I'm saying in the general, not everybody, but in general, the Gen Xers have fought more for this country than the baby boomers did. When the baby boomers needed to fight for their fucking country, you know what they did? They burned their fucking draft card. That's what they did. Now, now my father served in the military during the Vietnam era, so he didn't, he enlisted. But, and my brother enlisted. My family has a long history of military service in the Navy and the Army. And I didn't serve in the military, but I have a long history in our family of service to our country. And I have a very, strong dedication for people that do serve our military and everyone that, has, dedicated service to the country. I admire these types of people. But in general, the baby boomers, in general, they were afraid to fight for their country. And when we had to fight, it was the Gen Xers. The Gen Xers did it in the Middle East for decades. And it's bullshit. And it's time for us to start taking control and telling the baby boomers to step aside, and we're gonna fucking make this happen, and we're gonna save this country, because the baby boomers fucked it up. Now I'm saying that in the aggregate. Not all baby boomers are bad. I don't want people, because I got a lot of baby boomers that listen to me. So, those are the good people. But they know what I'm talking about. Those draft dodging motherfuckers, they should have fought for their fucking country. Just like how the Gen Xers, fought for our country in the Middle East.
And most of them volunteered.
Yeah,
There was no draft.
Not only that, if you really look at it, some of the biggest badasses that are in the Navy SEALs came out of the Gen X generation.
Yeah.
But that's, partially because of just, the evolution of the Navy SEAL program. But, but the point I'm making here is that Gen Xers aren't lazy, and that they're, if you look at the history of it, that there were more people that have fought for our country in the Gen X generation than the baby boom generation. Yeah, but there are some really great baby boom generation people that served, and I've talked to them, and I admire their service. But in the aggregate, there are many baby boomers that weren't willing to fight for our country when it needed. But it was the Gen Xers that stepped up to the plate. And it's the Gen Xers that get fucked over. And it's the time that this bullshit's going to end. That's what I'm saying. People don't really understand that the Gen Xers have an anger in them that is boiling over, and it's time to start taking back our country and not allow for this tyranny to continue. So it's a central theme, but it has to be organized, decentralized, and it has to be a Tet offensive where everyone is doing it at the same time. But it's decentralized, and they can't stop it. They won't be able to stop it.
So are we terrorists now for talking about this shit?
To take back our Constitution? How is that being a terrorist?
I mean,
How's that being a terrorist when I'm saying that we need to protect our civil liberties and make sure that our flag is keeps on flying? I'm trying to prevent our flag from being permanently taken down from the flagpole.
I mean, I'm waiting for somebody to blow my door in right now.
Well, you know what? The thing is that we're living in interesting times, man, and it's time to take back our country. It's not. This is not terrorism. This is saying that the government has been instituting laws that are unconstitutional. Where are the lawyers suing? Where is the judicial branch telling the legislative branch to fuck off and stop passing these laws that are non-constitutional?
It's not working. It is not working. I don't know. I actually have a good buddy of mine that's a lawyer and probably would love to sue the police department. But it's probably one of those things that, I think it's just all intimidation. It's complete fucking, they had the upper hand in every situation.
Right. But I just, because there's some people in the chat, that's, talking about, people that they've known or they personally have, served in the military, and they're boomers, the baby boomers. I admire people that served in the military, every single generation. And again, I have a long history in my family of serving in the Army and the Navy. So my hat's off to everyone that served in our military forces. I have no respect for people that burn their fucking draft card. I think that's treacherous. But we can do this. We can do this. We can do it peacefully, but we have to rise up and voice loudly at a local level across the country in a TED offensive.
Is it gonna have to get way worse? I mean, is this
No, the time. No. The time is now. There's no. The talk is over. The action is now. It's not a debate about should it. When should we do it? They are making their move. They're trying to decash. They're trying to institute E7. They already are trying to push a surveillance grid. They're already trying to institute social scoring. They're already making weapons programs and leaking them out. They're already growing their surveillance grid. They're already pushing forced vaccines. They're doing everything that we don't want them to do. We can't talk anymore. We can talk to inform, but immediately we need to start acting. The talk is over. Action is what is needed. They want us to continue talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And what I'm saying is we need to start TED offensing, and we need to start rising up and telling hell no. It's time for Occupy America now. It's not, the debate is over. Gen X is pissed off.
I don't know, it's a stupid question. I'm not trying to be a smart ass. We get together on something like this. Is this going to be like social distancing and masks? Are we going to stay safe, just personally safe, or is this part of a point that we're trying to make? Or how's all that going to work out? Should we be good stewards of our health and still show up and do what they asked as far as stand 6 feet away from each other?
I think that if you did 6 feet away without a mask, you're fine.
And they couldn't really do shit about it at that point anyways, eh? I mean, if we do what they ask as far as the health aspect of it, they couldn't say we're endangering or spreading.
Let them say whatever they want. The point that I'm making is the HHS and the CDC should not have the power to tell you that you can't peacefully assemble. It's against the constitutional, the Constitution, period. And where are the fucking JDs, the lawyers out there, making sure that us citizens are protected by, starting to sue these fucking lawmakers? That's why I don't think that the Juris Doctorates are stepping up to the plate. The PhDs are stepping up to the plate to try to inform the public on what the fuck happened with this bioweapon, like I am. The medical doctors are on the front line trying to solve the problem. We're the fucking JDs right now. I hear some people that, suing China. Well, that's good, but how many people are actually suing their local officials? Like fascist Cuomo. The chief of police. Yeah, the chief of police of New York City. Both of them are fucking fascists. Where are the Juris Doctorates for this? They need to step up to the plate and help out too. Everyone needs to pull together. And there's enough Gen Xers that have Juris Doctorates that can do this.
I only know 2.
But the point that I'm making is that everybody is needed, including the lawyers.
No, they definitely need to step up, though. There haven't really been, as far as I know, any kind of, not in a long ass time, anybody being held accountable for their bullshit.
Mm-hmm. And with Cuomo, with trying to push this tracking with people with antibodies, and when we get out of shelter in place, that they're going to put you in a database and they're going to do contact tracing and of anyone that if you contract it, they're going to lock up everybody that they think might have it. You know what? The lawyers need to step up to the plate and say, America needs to start taking some risks so we don't have another $4 trillion loss in our GDP. Will there be people that get sick? Yes. Will there be people that die from this? Yes, but it's not going to be as bad as we think. You know why? Because nature is more robust than the DOD thought, which is the Defense Department. So the Department of Defense, thought that their weapon was going to, tear through the whole world. And the reality is that nature is much more robust. So nature is part of our ally. The answer is making sure that the nutraceuticals are taken, like the D3s and the vitamin Cs and the chaga mushroom stuff and nanosilvers and all this stuff that can boost your immune system to be able to fight pathogens. Because when you have a healthy immune system, you don't get sick as much. That's a fact, right? So that's part of our weapon. That's our weapon to not get sick. So everyone that wants to start protesting, start stocking up on vitamin C and chaga, chaga mushroom and boost up your immune system in so many different ways with the turmerics and there's tons of stuff out there that you can do to boost up your immune system to get healthy. And so when you do get out of shelter in place, your system is boosted up, with enough D3 and all these different minerals and vitamins that you would be able to fight anything that's out there. Some people will still get sick, but many will not. So one of our weapons is nutraceuticals. Another one is that nature is more robust than the fucking DOD thought. And it's time for Operation, Occupy America.
Yeah. Occupy America.
We want our Constitution back. We don't want the Biopatriot Act. We don't want, I sound like a broken record, but, I'm Gen X and I used to have records. But, the thing is, is I don't want forced vaccines. I don't want E7. I don't want a surveillance grid. I don't want decaching. I don't want a never-ending tyranny by the police. They shouldn't have military-grade equipment. They should not have drones, ever, period. They should never have drones. Our tax dollars should not be paying for drones and AK-47s.
No.
And, we in the FBI, the NSA, the CIA, the TSA, and whatever other SA that's out there that they've created needs to be truncated.
Yeah, erase them, completely erased.
That's the central message that all of these individual groups at the grassroots level need to start saying at these protests. And when it's a unified message, it goes to the core of the Constitution. It's to protect our civil liberties. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm begging those Juris Doctorates out there to, start helping with people that are protesting and start suing these lawmakers. I don't care how you sue them. I mean, you got a law degree, figure it out.
Yeah.
The PhDs and the MDs out there are trying to figure out the solution on a scientific level. We don't know the answer, but we're trying it out. You Juris Doctorates out there, fucking figure it out and start suing.
Hell of a point.
They need to figure out a way to stop these police from, continuing their never-ending tyranny. They need to figure out how to sue these, government officials to stop these laws from being instituted on us that are unconstitutional. It's time to wake up America.
A huge part of it is the people that are asleep, and I think "Wake Up America" is a great way to put it. Paul, how the media in between the Doritos and the Seinfeld. I mean, people give two shits less, really. And
well, if they still live in their bread and circus world, then they're going to have communism. That's what's going to happen. Communism is going to creep into this country, and we're not going to have the prosperity that we've had.
And it's on our doorstep.
Yep, it is. But it's our generation that can stop it, man. And I'll tell you, the future generations, when they read the history books, they're going to go, damn, man, I wish I was there. That's what's going to happen. These, 2 generations from now, when they're reading this stuff in the history books, they're going to go, damn, I wish I was those Gen Xers that fucking stepped up.
Man, I hope this works out. I hope that
it will. It will. It can. If we do it, if we all do it together. They're expecting that we don't do it, or that only a few people will do it. They're expecting us to be divided, but they cannot stop us if we are united. We cannot fall if we're united. And that's why the Tet Offensive idea that is decentralized across the country at the same time cannot be stopped. It cannot be stopped.
Not be stopped. And then they don't have any choice at that point. Absolutely.
Right.
Their backs up against the wall.
And then it'll gain momentum, and then there'll be prosecutions. With lawmakers, and be prosecutions, with people like Fauci and the gang, where they run amok. And you'll start really draining the swamp and extracting them from the government, because there's been so much corruption and so much evil dealings that have been going on, that have been eroding our constitutional rights and our wealth. Another thing that I think is, part of the platform that needs to be discussed is actually trust busting the large banks like Citibank, JP Morgan.
Oh, that's a whole huge topic.
Yeah, because those banks have gotten too damn big and too fragile. They've added fragility into the economy. They need to be broken up. And people like Jamie Dimon, he needs to be investigated. And what did he know, and when did he know it? When it came to Lehman. And there's been a lot of weird things that go on in the commodity market, in the currency market, that Jamie Dimon knows about. That fucking cocksucker, that Jamie Dimon from JP Morgan, he's another traitor to this country. I would like to see him being charged, prosecuted, and then his head chopped off on Wall Street so people can kick it around like a soccer ball.
Right,
but he would have to be tried. He would have to be tried first. Tried and convicted, and then executed. Executed with a guillotine, and then people can kick his head around like a soccer ball on Wall Street. But that guy, he's heavily involved in these financial dealings that destroyed the wealth of the Gen Xers. Well, this fucking cocksucker made tons and tons of money from when the market was going up and when the market was falling. He made money on both sides of it. What a fucking asshole. It was him and Blankfind. Both of them are a bunch of fucking jackasses.
Oh, and they're skating too. Just some of these people in the world, that's part of the problem with this shit, the way it's set up, is certain people get to a level and they're completely untouchable.
Well, the thing is, they're only untouchable because people, stuff pizza in their mouth while they're watching the football game.
Yeah.
Now the time is to act. But my favorite food is pizza and beer. But the point that I'm making here is that you have to be an engaged citizen, and you can't be just a passive observer. You have to be an engaged citizen, and I think we can do this. And I think we're starting to see people waking up, especially women that have children that don't want forced vaccines on their child or to be tagged, digitally tagged, with a chip or something like that.
A lot have been touched by autism and the recent upsurge in the different side effects of vaccines recently. And it just seems like there again in the last odd years, it's just been so much worse. There's going to be a lot of power in that point. And I think them coming out with some rush super vaccine that they really don't know dickety-do about, and then going to try to say everybody's taking it. I mean, wow. What a mess that could be.
Yeah, I just people should have the say yes or no if they're going to take a vaccine. All right? The government shouldn't be telling them you have to take it. They don't have that right. I mean, people have, religious freedom and biological freedoms. The government shouldn't be, because where do you stop with that? If the government thinks you should do this, then they're forcing you to do it. It's a slippery slope. The government can always say, you can only walk on the street on Tuesdays because it's safer for, let's say, the climate, and then they make a law and it forces everyone that you can only walk on sidewalks on Tuesday. They'll never end with these stupid laws. We gotta stop it. We gotta live. I'd rather live with freedom but dangerously than to live, quote, with safety under tyranny.
For sure. I mean, this lockdown's getting nowhere quick. It really is.
Yep. The time is now. The talk is over. We can't talk anymore. Our country needs to stand up and tell these people no more. It's not as bad as we thought. That's a good thing. Nature is more robust. Our immune systems are more robust. We do have a problem. It's a real virus. For some people, it's going to kill. For other people, it may, be a long-term thing with their pulmonary system. But the bottom line is that saving our Constitution is far more important than any individual's life, because that Constitution transcends one's life. It goes into other generations and protects the freedoms of future generations. And that's what we're standing up for. We're making sure that our children and our children's children are living under freedom, not under fucking Governor Cuomo's fascism. So we can make it happen. We can make Occupy America, and we can do this at a grassroots level all across the country, and make it happen. And just spread the word. Spread the word of what's the central theme. The central theme is basically what I've been saying about these major pillars. Everyone can articulate it in their own way. The bottom line is it's an overreach of government. Our founding fathers had an idea that this might happen, and that's why they wrote the Bill of Rights. And the debates that were going on between Hamilton and Madison, the bottom line is they saw this, and that's why they gave us the right to bear arms, to tell the government to fuck off.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so what?
So I want to hear in the news. My friend, that Louisville, Kentucky, did something in their local area that is about what we're talking about with Occupy America. Spread the word, and I want to hear something in the news.
Yeah, man. So this is where I was going with this.
I want people to be calling in and telling me that this is what they did in their local area to protect our Constitution.
So wow, so organize Occupy America local.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, I'm totally down. I think something like that is going to be a real heavy weight and a big burden.
We can do this. And you're already starting to see it happening. It's starting to happen.
Yeah, you are.
It's just a thing.
You're right. You know,
It's
our
just that
governor,
it needs more momentum. It needs more mass.
yeah, we've got our protesters, and they're small in numbers, and they're mainly, I think, more towards just bitching about opening up businesses, not really about really what's going on. Which opening up businesses is part of it, yeah.
Well, you know,
But
that's a big part of it because, you know, the erosion of people's wealth is part of their strategy. They want to erode your wealth to the point where you beg for the government to give you something.
yeah, to stand
You
in
know,
line
and then
for
then they'll go, you know what? To get that job, you got to take that vaccine, dude. You better take that vaccine before you get that job.
That's right.
And that's what they're going to do, you know. So,
Coming
and they're going to weaken
yeah.
us. They're going to try to destroy our food supply to weaken us even more, so they won't even be able to fight. The time is now. That's what I'm saying. They're going to keep on trying to weaken us psychologically and physically to the point we can't rise up. The time of talk is over. Not, you know, we passed that Rubicon already. It's time to act. It's time to protest. And hopefully, if the government's smart, they'll listen to us and roll back to a pre-9/11 day. If they're not, this thing's going to go kinetic, and there's going to be parts of the government that are going to be burnt down. Because there is no way in hell that mothers out there that have children are going to deal with a forced vaccine program and have their child chipped.
Right. Oh yeah, it's another huge issue too. Is this child care, man? Think about this. Is this really weighing heavy on my mind? Is opening up daycares, which has already been, you know, a hot spot and a transmission point for the flu and all other whatnot. So they open up businesses. Kiddos got to go somewhere.
Well, right, exactly. I mean, you know, here's the problem: is it has to be coordinated with the school system, so people could go back to work, and you know, they don't have to pay for the child care because the school system is, you know, up and running again. But another part of this is that these children, you know, how good is the education when they're doing, you know, at home, online stuff in elementary school? You know, those are formative years. I'm not so sure an online school program for elementary school is a smart idea. You know, for adults, it's easier. It's an easier adaptation. But children need that socialization, and children need that mentoring from their teacher. You know, in a physical presence. So so you have half a year of lost teaching with young children, and you know, 6 months is a lot.
A huge amount.
Yeah. And people don't realize that there's a negative externality of locking these children up in their homes, you know, doing this remote learning. They're not learning that much. I don't think they're learning that. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that these children are learning that much with this remote learning. I think what they're doing is playing games.
Yeah. It's really, really sad how far behind I think we are education-wise here in Kentucky. I mean, as far as I think the whole United States, we're not really scoring real high, but I know in Kentucky we're real far down the list.
Well, you know, the thing is that, you know, the most important thing is to realize there's a problem, and then, you know, once you measure the problem, then you can figure a way out of it. You know, you're right. There's a problem. Now the next step is how are we gonna fix it? You know, we can do that. We can fix the problem. We can turn this country into every damn state has, you know, tons of engineers and tons of scientists. Kids want to learn. Kids want to innovate. It's when the society beats it out of them.
Sure.
So they're weakening our immune system. They're weakening us by destroying our food supply. They're weakening us psychologically because of shelter in place and not having the social connections that we used to have, and they're weakening our children with their educational their yeah, exactly. This is a grand takedown of America.
Yeah, it is, in every aspect, and from the top down, man. It's just incredible.
Yeah, so it's time to occupy America. But it's all about at the local level, but all at the same time with a unified message. And what would be awesome is that different people that are organizing it across the country call in and say, this is what we're doing. This is, and we put up video, real time or even if it's delayed, and put it up on the channel. Okay, this is what's happening in Kentucky. This is what's happening in Michigan. This is what's happening in New York. This is what, and this channel, starts turning into, a place that showcases individual groups in the country doing Occupy America to protect our freedoms. Because I'll tell you what, if we don't do something across the nation, these globalists are going to they're going to do their master plan.
Yeah.
They're moving forward. Their operations are moving against us. Now the question is, are we going to stand up and do something about it? There's a lot of people that see what I'm seeing, but not enough people are standing up and doing. And that's the problem. You know what I mean?
I definitely know what you mean. Now, in my small circle of friends, have some agrees and some disagrees with this frame of mind, and so just in my personal little world, I don't see, a huge backing, though. I still see, everybody kind of led by like sheep and act like zombies and just kind of buy and do what they're told. And the future and freedoms seems like it doesn't weigh heavy. So, in my small circle of friends, this is going to be a challenge.
Well, you can always tell them that if they don't start acting, they're going to be chipped. If they don't start acting, they're going to be forced vaccinated. They want to be chipped? Do they want to be forced vaccinated?
Right, true.
I mean, do they want to have a surveillance grid on them where it's social scoring, and that if you don't do what the government wants you to do, that they start reducing your credit score or reducing your chances of getting a job, like they're doing in China? I mean, this is not sci-fi. This is happening now in China. So I mean, it's coming to a place near you. If they don't stand up, so the best way to handle that, those types of people that is to say, is that what you really want? Because if that's what you really want, then don't do anything, because that's what they're going to give you. But if you don't want forced vaccines, you got to stand up and do something.
This using the cell phones for contact tracing, isn't that it's unbelievably against all kinds of everything? Is that some kind of, did something happen that I'm not aware of, or is that more like in kind of invasion of privacy and everything else?
Well, I think because you have to opt in, you're giving them the right by opting in. But the thing is, it's socializing us into the acceptance that it's okay to do it.
Okay to do it.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So over time, people are just going to say, oh, everyone's doing it, so I'll do it too. Yeah.
Yeah, this is what neighbors doing.
Yeah.
Right.
They're trying to socialize it.
Surveillance state, the police state.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing, I mean, even the tech experts on Facebook, said they designed the app to be addictive. So you just keep on going to it. So they can sell more ads.
Wow.
Because people get this dopamine hit when they see, that something that they post, gets a like. It get a like, or it gets a share, or it gets a comment. They've had a bunch of neuroscientists analyze this stuff, and it's, they are playing with our brain chemistry so they can make a dollar. So they can make a dollar on you. So they're messing around with your dopamine mechanism and your reward mechanism, and you become addicted to their apps, and they're making it, and so Zuckerberg can be a fucking billionaire. Did you get any money for Zuckerberg for being a billionaire? I didn't.
No, it's just a complete joke.
Yeah, that's another fucking asshole that needs to be prosecuted and hung.
Good Lord.
For erosion of our civil liberties.
I mean, I hate to say it, but when we voted for all these assholes, and I think this is just the underlying issue, is if there's just a whole pool of assholes to vote from, you can't really have nothing good running the country. And I think this is part of the problem. These politicians and these people that we vote in.
Well, here's the problem is that over time when a country, gets larger, gets more prosperous, there's institutionalization that takes place. And through institutionalization, each of these different organizations within the government starts to balloon out. They start getting more money, they start building up bureaucracies. But there has to be, if you look at nature, or even social systems as biological systems, you can't have something get too big. It becomes it builds up a systemic risk. It builds up fragility in nature, and it starts to fall apart. A termite, let's say like a termite mound, can't get too big or it falls over, right? So there's things in nature that are self-organizing that do start to collapse under its own weight. Institutions in social systems like governments are the same thing. This is why there needs to be a restructuring of the Federal Reserve. This is why there needs to be a restructuring of the banking industry. This is why there needs to be a restructuring of these institutions that we would call part of the surveillance grid. The NSA, the TSA, the Homeland Security, the FBI, the CIA. All these institutions have to be truncated because institutionalization allowed them to get too damn big and they become too systemic. They've created too much of a systemic risk.
So I gotta ask you, man, are all these people blind, or are we just seeing shit that nobody else sees?
I think there's a lot of people that have cognitive dissonance because they don't want to admit that what their gut feeling is telling them, that their government is fucking them in the ass, and that that if they don't wake up, they're going to lose their constitution.
Oh my gosh.
We need to stand up, and we need to I am not going to let my body be chipped, and I'm not going to have someone force vaccine, a messenger RNA platform that Fauci is promoting. That's not going to happen. And people think that I'm just all talk. I'm not all talk. And I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of mothers that have children that are thinking the exact same thing I'm thinking. And and these socialists out there, they don't understand the power of a mother. The power of a mother is like, probably one of the greatest forces of nature.
For sure. For sure. No, I went through hernia surgery. I've been cut down in my groin, and I know that is no fun. And then women go through the childbirth, and man, caring for the little one the next day or the next hour. It is amazing.
That's what I'm saying is that there's a power in mothers. There's a force to be reckoned, and and if the government wants to go up against that, they aren't going to win. They are not going to win against that. But the thing is it's going to get bloody. It's going to get bloody. But these socialists out there, they've crossed the Rubicon. Now it's our time to engage and start protesting and do the things that we've been talking about with Occupy America. And it's a very simple message. We want to protect our constitutional rights, and we're tired of the erosion of it. And all those damn Juris Doctorates need to get off their fucking ass and start suing. So let me take another call, give a chance for someone else to speak their mind.
Good speaking with you, man.
Yeah, but I want to hear something in the news that Kentucky is stepping up to the plate and protecting our Constitution.
All right, we'll get it together over here.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Later, bye.
All right.
You ready for another call? Here we go. I'm surprised we only have 286 watching. Must be a slow night. Dr. Paul speaking.
Dr. Cottrell.
Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
So-
I just Patreoned you, man. I'm digging you a lot.
Oh, I appreciate the support. I mean, it's helping with the coverage, and I'll tell you, I try to put as much effort as I can and all the energy into trying to sound the alarm, and going on a lot of. Not only am I, making content for my own channel, but I'm going around other channels and trying to spread the word the best that I can.
I see you with Stefan and with Mike and you've talked to some other guys, man. It's been really good, and I really like George Webb, and I'm glad you had Cliff High on. I mean, that's some powerful stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to have
Yeah.
Cliff on again. We're going to do a one-on-one with talking about more of the geopolitical side, what he's thinking is going on with the CCP, and the potential war aspects, and also some of the other sides of Wuhan once we get out of this crisis. What he's seeing, he has some interesting perspectives. George Webb, he's just a wealth of knowledge. He's got a ton of information about Fauci that I love, and I'm still learning from him.
A whole new flock of heroes now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm every day I'm learning something from him. So I mean, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's because there's a lot to learn.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I have a question for you, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Back in 1970, I contracted Chalcibrim and Vivax malaria, and I went through several weeks of quinine therapy with that, and it might have been chloroquine. I don't really know. Okay. And here's my question. Do I get any benefit from that long term, life wise? Do you know what I'm saying?
I don't think so. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
because you would contract a disease, there would be an antibody to the disease, but that antibody wouldn't be, specifically designed for the spike protein on
Yeah.
SARS-CoV-2. So no, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I mean, there's not enough homology between the two different pathogens to allow for it. I mean,
Right.
from an antibody point of view, and those antibodies were so long ago. I mean, did you contract it
Yeah.
after 1970?
No, but I mean, it always stays with you.
Yeah, but what happens with antibodies is that they kind of start to die out. That's the reason why I had to get a Hep B shot for medical school again, because my antibodies dropped below a certain level. So you do lose antibodies over time.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, it was just a thought I had, and I just said, I don't know the answer to that. I don't have any idea. So,
No.
but I know who.
I mean, it was
has.
so long. It was so long ago, and the antibodies that you would have built up from that pathogen, from malaria. It's not it's not the same. So
It's
like,
just gone.
yeah,
It's old like me.
it's well, no, every day is a new day, right? So
Yeah. Oh man, I'm telling you, man. Every day's blowing my mind right now. I don't even know what to think most of the time.
right. But just to be clear, the antibody that you created with that pathogen for malaria, that's not going to be that wouldn't help you even if you had malaria 3 years ago. That antibody that you produced wouldn't have helped you with SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Yeah, it was just
even
a question.
yeah, but I mean, it was so long ago that you probably could get malaria again.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, I just, man, I just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate what you do, and the people you connect with, and you got any plans to talk to Judy Mikovits?
I have her schedule for May 15th.
Oh, dynamite!
I mean, I got a lot of things going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't realize. I can't like tell it because people try to troll me a lot, and try
Yeah,
to discredit. So I have a lot going on behind the scenes on other people's channels or my channel that people don't realize, and then I'll hit them. I'll just like start releasing a bunch of stuff, and then I'll go quiet again, and I'll hit them again with a bunch of stuff, and I'll go quiet again. So a lot of people are saying, oh, you need to talk to this person or that person. It's already in the
Right.
works. It's already in the works. Trust me.
Yeah, I mean, with what you're doing, man, you got to watch your back.
Oh, I've been threatened multiple times.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, but
there's
some serious
but
players
here's
out there.
but here's the reality. Here's the reality. And I was saying this on multiple videos. I've said it on Stefan's show last night. And I said it with the last caller. The most important thing that my generation can do is step up for our constitutional rights. And if you do that, a higher power will protect me. I am not worried. I am doing everything that I am doing is in my heart and soul, and it's doing it for the right reasons. It's to help future generations to make sure that they have prosperity and freedom. And I am a God-fearing person, and I believe that God is protecting me on this. So I don't care what other people think or want to troll or try to threaten me. I believe that I have a guardian angel. And we can call it God or whatever, but I believe that there's a higher power that is protecting me and the people that are around me.
Well, I'm hip to the higher power, Paul. Trust me, that's huge in my life, and I know where the strength lays. I know where the real courage comes from, and all of that stuff, and that's the source, and that's the support system, and that's everything.
Right. Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Listen, I want to tell you something though, okay? Because I've formed a protest. I started about 3 or 4 years ago, and I bought a house over here in Cleveland, and there was a flagpole in the front of the house. My protest was I wasn't going to put a flag up. That's my protest, right? Because I know what's going on in government, And as I listen to you, and I listen to other people who are knowledgeable, and people with insights, and people who care, right? I made a decision day before yesterday that it's time to fly a flag and stop this silly protest because it's getting me nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All right? And I need to make that statement again in my life. And because I care about the Constitution and I care about my brothers and sisters and all the rest, you know, and it's important and it's valuable. That's the thing about it. So, you know, you had an influence in me from that respect.
Well,
and I'm grateful for that.
I am actually honored to have a caller say that. You know, the thing that's so great that, you know, that you're raising the flag for what it stands for, and that's freedom and our constitutional rights, and it also represents all the people that sacrificed for our country to give us the freedoms that we have, and you know, and respecting that symbol of our country is awesome, and I greatly appreciate that you're sharing that message to everyone that's listening, and it's important to realize that that flag represents the goodness of our country, what we can be, the constitutional freedoms that we have, and all the people that sacrificed for it. If we have a government that is antithetical to those things, if we have a government that is trying to promote tyranny, that flag doesn't represent that government. It represents something higher than that. It's not the government. The flag doesn't represent.
Too, Paul,
yeah, the flag.
Because of the messages that people like you are delivering.
Right.
That's. I just said, what am I doing? What am I thinking?
Right. This country is great.
It doesn't make any sense, Doug. Knock it off.
Yeah. You know, the country is great. We have politicians that are evil. And,
they're terrible.
And the thing is that sometimes, you know, we confuse the issue and we just say that the country's bad. And it's not. The country is not bad. We have really bad politicians. And that's why I'm saying, and that's why we need to start prosecuting these people. And once they're prosecuted, they should be, you know, hung for treason.
Well, Fossey's not a politician, but I think I got a nice oak tree I could let him swing from.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is that, you know, he's a lifer, you know, agency guy.
Yeah.
And you know, and he has his hands in the weapons program, so you know
yes, he does.
And just on ethics issues, you know, crimes against humanity, he's got issues here. So I just on an ethical point, why would someone force, knowing that research would gain function to the point where, you know, you're creating this super weapon, and knowing that you're doing it for a weapon, not for scientific purposes, you're doing it for a weapon. That's what happened at Fort Detrick. They were doing it for a weapon.
Well, that's what they're there for.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is that they were doing something they shouldn't have been doing, and it eventually leaked out. You know, chaos theory happened. It leaks out, and it hurts a bunch of people. And now, you know, we lost $4 trillion. Over 35 million people are unemployed. You know, we're possibly going to be forced vaccinated, and all these things that are happening. You know, these people need to be prosecuted.
Well,
and think about all the people that died. You know, we have over 71,000 people in the United States that passed away, and to put that into perspective, and those deaths only happened in the last 2.5 months. All right,
so to put it, tip of the iceberg
right, and you know, the thing is, to put it into perspective, we lost 33,000 combat people, military in Korea during the Korean War. We lost 47,000 in combat deaths in Vietnam, and the Confederate Army during the Civil War lost approximately 74 or 75,000 during the Civil War. All right. So we lost in 2.5 months, more than what we have lost in some major wars that the United States have had.
And it's only just begun.
Right. And those wars that they were in were more than 4 years, or they were 4 years or more. So we got to put things in perspective here on the actual lethality of it and how quick that those deaths were. I mean, New York alone is more than 19,000 deaths in New York City. Just New York City. I think it's 19,000, maybe it's 18,000, but either way, it's a big number in in only 2.5 months. I mean, that's a lot of people.
Well, here's the deal, Paul. It looks, that's, at least from my view, and I know it's a negative. It looks pretty hopeless to me. What's going on in our country and how long it's been going on for, and the depth. It doesn't look good. So I'm not sure what to think about that other than to just...
Well, the thing is that it doesn't look good. We know what's the game plan, and we know what we want, and there's an awful lot of people that are waking up. A lot of people are hurt. A lot of people are either emotionally hurt by this, financially hurt, or physically hurt by this.
Right.
And we as a bunch of citizens need to stand up and start telling them that we don't want these things to happen. Like I was telling the previous caller, we don't want the Bio-Patriot Act to come in, and we want to roll back to a pre-9/11 day. It's very simple. It's a very simple thing, and we can all do this at a grassroots level. It doesn't have to be a 1 million man march on Washington, because it lasts for 1 day or 2 days. This thing needs to last. That's why I keep on saying it has to be like an Occupy movement. What were the lessons learned from the Occupy movement? It lasted for a long time, and it was happening in multiple areas. It was actually a global thing that was going on. But the thing is that it was too.
Look what happened in France before this COVID thing came
well,
around.
It's
all very suspicious, isn't it?
Well, you bring up a great point. The Yellow Vest movement, that's been lasting for so long. There's something to be learned from that. We could have a sustained protest in the United States that's an Occupy movement that is very localized to each city or each state.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I call it the Tet Offensive, that it's happening all at the same time. That's what scared That's what scared the Americans to get out of Vietnam, was the Tet Offensive. So, to scare the politicians to stop fucking around with their civil liberties, we need to do this across the nation, in a chaotic. I know this sounds like an oxymoron, but a chaotic, organized fashion. Chaotic chaotic in the sense that it's not centrally organized. It's all locally organized, but it has a central theme, and that central theme is what I was telling you about with the Bio-Patriot Act and rolling back to a pre-9/11 day.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of power behind that act you're talking about.
Yeah, but the thing is that they only have power because they've divided us. When we unite, they don't have the power.
Fact.
Right.
I totally agree with you. So, I agree with you too that there's more and more people waking up, and it takes time to make it happen. And one of the things that I think is going to really wake people up, and I'm really glad this is happening in a sick way, all right, is that people are going to have a hard time feeding themselves pretty soon.
Oh yeah.
They're going to have to change diets. We're all going to have to do that, and probably 55 or more % of our money is going to go to nothing but food, nothing but food, and
yeah. What's going to happen is that you're going to have 50% is going to housing, and the other 50% is going to food. So you have nothing left.
Right.
You don't even have enough money to buy underwear.
That's a fact. It really is sick, and the sickness is what I hope is waking people up. I keep telling people, man, wake up, pay attention, listen to this stuff, read some books. People don't read.
I know. It is a shame. It is a shame.
And it's just like put down your Game Boy, man. Put it down, and open your eyes.
This is the
Because
ultimate. This is the ultimate video game right now. What we're living in right here.
it really
Don't
is,
worry
isn't
about
it?
virtual reality. The reality is so so dangerous and so real and so
Yeah.
you know
And
next level.
maybe
Yeah.
that's why a lot of people won't do it, because it is dangerous, and it is real. And we all know what cognitive dissonance is like. That's a really tough nut to crack.
Right.
There's a lot of challenges for people, but I think this one that's coming right now, which is the interrupted supply chains and various. I just took a drive today. I got out of my house, me and my wife, and we took a 180-mile long drive, and the road's full of trucks. And I mean, there's cars on the road too, but the majority of the vehicles are trucks. And I'm like, what's in these things?
Like 18-wheelers?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What's in these things? What's being ferried around the country? I honestly don't know, because we know that the economy's shit right now. We know that the supplies in stores are somewhat limited, if not non-existent in a few of them. So what's in all these trucks? Because there's a lot of them on the road, and I don't know the answer to that. Are they running around empty?
That's interesting.
Or quarter load, or what?
I mean, they're all like closed trailers.
Yeah, the vast majority. I mean, sure, there's flatbeds and parking lots and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's cars moving, not nearly as many as I used to see. I used to drive many miles a year, like 120,000 miles a year myself for a position I had, a job I had. And there were all kinds of car carriers around. They were called parking lots, And now there's a few here and a few there, and most of them only have one or two or three vehicles on them. But I don't know what's in the box trucks, But there's a lot of them on the road.
That is suspicious.
What's going on?
I mean, I would have suspected that if I could understand regular cars not being on the road because people are sheltered in place. But I would say that because the economy is half of what it used to be, that there should be roughly half of the number of trucks on the road than normal.
I don't think that's the case. That isn't what I saw today.
Yeah, see, that's weird.
And this is the first time,
And it can't.
literally,
And it can't
Paul,
be.
this is the first time I've been out since up in Ohio. They shut down, in, I think it was in March 15th, somewhere in there. And this is really the first time I've been out since then. So
I haven't had a car in 12 years. I haven't driven in a long time, because I live in New York City. So I mean, I've lost that. I've lost that whole perspective of what the highway looks like.
I used to live in Garden City, and when I'd go into Manhattan, it was on a train,
Right, exactly.
So
exactly. What's really weird is because people aren't outside and cars aren't coming in and out of Manhattan. The air is so much cleaner.
Yeah, well, there's still a lot of dirt up in the air because these scoundrels are spraying it.
No, but I mean, just like just the soot from the buses.
Yeah.
That's not there as much. Or even when you have a lot of cars on the road,
Right.
the little particulates from the tires.
Right.
In the air, so that
Yeah,
doesn't. There's you can. It's not like that. It's strange. It's almost like normally the air is much cleaner right after it rains. On a normal day in New York City, it's like that clearness right after rain, but no rain happened. It's strange. But it's because just the traffic isn't there in Manhattan. There's
Oh yeah,
big
absolutely. I mean, the air is cleaner. Like I said, I'm up in Cleveland here, and the difference is easily noticed. You can't not notice it.
Right.
So and I like that. The air traffic. There's almost no air traffic, but the consequences for what's going on are going to last for a long time.
Oh yeah, I agree with you.
There are no houses on the market.
Did you see the Blue Angels? I didn't get to see them, but did you?
I didn't. I know they're flying around to different. They're flying around to different medical facilities, and they were going to come over this Cleveland clinic here And I don't know if the Blue Angels were gonna, but there was gonna be an Air Force aircraft. But I know that they're going in different places in the country. But no, I didn't see them.
Yeah, I heard them fly over. I heard them fly. I actually heard them flying over New York, but I didn't get to see it. I didn't actually see the planes. I saw their colored exhaust that comes out.
Yeah.
So, but I was looking out of my window, hoping that I would get to see the plane, but I wasn't able to.
Well.
I could hear
yeah,
it. I could hear it. It was loud, but
Well, they're pretty fast. You
yeah,
know?
yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. What are they? They're F-16s, right? Or
I don't know. I would think so. You know, I don't honestly know what they fly. So all I know is they're fast and loud.
yeah, no, it's pretty cool. It's
So,
pretty cool.
yeah, sure
I used to go to as a kid. My father always would take us to Dayton, Ohio, where they have the Air Museum.
Right.
That was pretty cool.
Well,
When
you
I was a kid.
were just north of there, so
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, exactly. So we used to
You
go
know?
there like every other year, take a look at the planes.
Communist state of Michigan. Anyway, I had to throw that one in, man. That lady's a joke.
I'll tell you,
tell you.
she's a nut. But I mean, the thing is that going back to the main theme of raising the flag,
Right.
there, the people, the far majority of the people in this country, support these ideals that we're talking about. The Constitution and what the flag represents. There are people that are in government that don't, and sometimes
I
we
don't
make
know
that confusion.
I don't know that I agree with you on that statement, man.
You think that there's a lot of people in the population that's against the Constitution?
Yeah.
See, I would
don't
agree.
know if they're against. I won't say they're against it, but I would say there's a lot of people who are totally ignorant of what it is, and that's by design. Okay, and people's laziness to go and check, to look, to read it.
Well,
know?
I've spent a lot of time in Cambridge, in the Boston area, because of my studies at Harvard. And I've spent a lot of time, obviously, in New York. I'll tell you, New York and Boston, they definitely are more liberal. Now, New York, even though they vote Democrat, they do, because of all the businesses here and because of finance, they don't like too much taxation. So they're a little bit more center. In Boston, they're Bernie Sanders types. They're Elizabeth Warren types. There are a lot of Bernie fans out in Boston, lots. In the Cambridge area, I mean, it's communist country there. Lots of people in the Harvard and MIT area
know
are.
what socialism and communism really is.
Right.
I honestly don't think they know what it is.
Right. So you walk around and you see a bunch of bumper stickers, promoting Bernie and all this. But Michigan isn't like that. Michigan is a blue, is a blue state usually. This time it's a red state, for Trump. But
Boy, that was a shock, wasn't it?
I knew it was going to happen. You know how I knew?
Did you?
Yeah, I knew it was going to happen when Ted Nugent was playing the national anthem on his guitar
Right.
the night before the election. They did.
Okay.
One of his last rallies, Trump's last rally, was in Michigan, and it was it was Ted Nugent that played to the crowd, and I knew then that Trump was going to win, that he was going to take the Midwest. Before that, I was a little worried, but right after that, I went to bed and I knew that he was going to win.
When North Carolina went to Trump, I said, "Oh my God, he's actually going to do it."
Yeah. I thought it was awesome. It's.
Oh, I was like, wow, this is really happening. And then I got disappointed again. You know, I was out in Utah at the time. I was living out in Salt Lake, and I got out of there, and I got really disappointed then because of the way things have gone. All this time, all this garbage that's going on with these fucking maniacs. They're maniacs. They're sick people. That's what I call them. And I kind of lost my faith. And I'm going to tell you this again. I'm getting it back because I'm getting exposed to the likes of you.
Well, it's good to know.
And I can't even tell you how grateful I am. I sat down for several nights in a row, and I just sat in the dark and the quiet. I said, man, point me in the right direction, please. And ever since I did that, I've been pointed in the direction that I'm going in right now.
That's awesome.
You know,
That's awesome.
It's very awesome. And it's like, it feels good.
Right.
But it's scary too.
Right. So, you know, a lot of people were thinking, like, you know, from the perspective of Michigan, you know, because it's typically a blue collar state because of all the manufacturing. You know, there's a lot of white collar in Michigan too, but I mean, you know, most people think it's a blue collar state. But normally blue collar will vote Democrat. But the thing is that there's a change in the wind here, and that is that the blue collar person they want freedom, they want constitutional freedom, and they want their jobs back. And they're noticing that the Democratic Party is eroding their constitutional freedoms, and they're pushing their jobs overseas. They want to weaken the country, and that's why they voted the way they did, because Trump is not a Republican nor a Democrat.
I agree.
But he would never win if he was an independent. So he was somewhat the perfect psyop for the Republican Party, because
I think so.
You know, because he's really an independent.
Yeah.
You know, another person that I find interesting is Rand Paul.
I think Rand Paul's a decent man.
Yeah, but you know, the thing is that, you know, he just doesn't have the I don't think he doesn't have that same following as like Bernie has.
Well, he doesn't, but he has an effect.
He's a smart guy.
Important.
He's a smart guy, and he's all about the Constitution, you know, and you know, civil liberties, and you know, and less government is better government.
Well, so's his dad, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, I started listening to him years ago, and I liked what he had to say, and I don't know about some of the things about him, you know, but basically, I think he's a decent man too, you know. So there's generations and that are going in that family that are, I think they're good for our country, and they help people question what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah, I was worried when Rand Paul, you know, had COVID-19, when he contracted it, because of that stabbing that he had, and they had to remove one of his lungs, and I was like going, oh my God, you know, now he's got this major lung infection, and you know, I was worried he was going to die.
Yeah, he got attacked or something, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a neighbor. His neighbor stabbed him in the chest, and
right.
And then he went into emergency surgery, and what happened was the lung kept on getting infected, and they had to remove part of his lung.
Yeah, I see somebody threw in the chat about Trey Gowdy too. Man, I used to really be turned off from that guy, and then I listened to him over and over and over again. I would listen to things that he said, and I said, "Holy mackerel, man!"
Right. You know, so there are people out there, you know, to look at, and it's like, you know what, we do have good people in this country, and that there are bad actors. But the flag doesn't represent those bad actors. That's the point. The flag represents an ideal, a higher ideal that we can support and reach for us and for future generations.
And that's the point that I lost, Paul. It just went out of my line of thinking. You know, and that's when I just said the other day, what the hell am I thinking? What's going on with you, Doug? What are you doing to yourself here? You know, you better start getting back to your base principles,
Right.
and look at the value that's here and what could be. I don't think it was, honestly and truthfully, I don't think it was, because this country's been going the direction it's going for a long time. I was alive when John Kennedy was assassinated, you know, and it affected me when I was a kid. And I've thought about it all of my life, you know. And I paid attention to a lot of people talking about that, and researchers and people who know way more than I do, you know. And I think that's the point where we really turned. And then the likes of Lyndon Johnson and all these people that have followed since then, Richard Nixon and all these scoundrels.
I think you make a great point. You know, I think that when Kennedy was assassinated, that was an inflection point, at least in the public eye, that something happened in the country, and that the powers that be in government, the deep state or whatever you want to call it, the secret societies or whatever it is, they were emboldened and set in motion a lot of things that now we're starting to see was a major play to bring down our country. All right?
Yeah, well, Paul, a major player in that thing was George H.W. Bush.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know?
Definitely. You know, I'm still Skull and Bones has this ritual, all right, that when you get through the initiation to be a bonesman, you get a grandfather clock.
Okay.
All right? And the grandfather clock cannot be wound down. It always has to be wound. And if it winds down, then something really bad happens to the individual.
Okay.
It wouldn't surprise me that the grandfather clock for George Bush Sr. wound down and that he was executed.
Wow. That never entered my mind. I believe he was executed.
No, but I believe that it was the grandfather clock. His grandfather clock was wound down.
Well, I think John McCain was executed too.
I don't know about John McCain,
Yeah, he was a big scoundrel.
Well, I think definitely people behind the scenes. That was the strange thing about John McCain is that he in the media he was portrayed as like this major war hero and all this and all that.
Right.
And anyone that goes through a POW scenario, my heart's out to them. A lot of them never came home.
I agree.
But the thing is that behind the scenes, as he was senator, he was actually, pretty ruthless and very mean to some of his constituents.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, he was. Oh, yeah.
So he wasn't this, really, quote patriotic guy. I mean, and I think that's what Trump was trying to say when he was on stage and he said he wasn't a hero.
Right.
It didn't come out very well when he said it, but I mean that's what he meant.
You know what? Here's the deal, Paul. I'm a Vietnam combat veteran. Okay, USMC War Dogs. Okay, and in my entire life, it's probably maybe for 10 years or so, I thought McCain was something special. All right, and then I learned some things about him, and I said, "Well, this guy doesn't represent me in any way."
No.
And I have no sort of sad feelings or anything about his experiences.
He lined his pockets.
Yes, he did.
And and he played that whole patriot, thing, but
And he was selling out our country.
Right, exactly.
He's as guilty as Barack Obama, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh, I agree with you on that. Totally agree with you.
Or Hillary Clinton.
Not only that,
or
I mean,
John Brennan,
he almost left the Republican Party when Bush Jr. won the presidency. because
Yeah.
he felt as though it was his birthright.
Yeah. Well, somebody else had other ideas.
Well, I honestly think that he probably would have won the presidency if he didn't pick Palin.
Yeah,
I think
maybe.
him picking Palin was one of his worst decisions.
Well, maybe he didn't make that decision.
Well, maybe that's probably true.
Well,
That's probably very true.
yeah, because there's some planners out there.
Well, I mean,
that,
you're talking about running up against a bonesman. If you're running up against a
Right.
bonesman, even a McCain ain't going to be able to fight that.
Yeah, yeah. How are you going to deal with that at Ivy League school?
Well, how do you deal with what?
I mean, that whole cult deal and the Harvard, Yale, all that.
Well, I mean, the thing is that Yale is skull and bones. And
Right.
Yale and Harvard don't get along. So
Okay.
so how I view it is that people say, oh, it's the Ivy Leagues. You know what? Yeah, there are secret societies, but most of the secret societies are actually through the Yale, and the CIA came from Yale. So
Yeah.
all these negatives about secret societies all come from Yale. So I view Harvard is like kind of the arch enemy of the Yale crowd. So if people
Right.
so people are against the CIA and these secret societies, you better get on the side of Harvard. But Harvard has its
Okay.
own problems.
Yes, it does.
We had this Professor Lieber, who was caught for espionage,
Yeah, I
with the
know.
CCP and in the Thousands Talent Plan. But there are good people. There are also good people at Yale. It's not. It's stupid to say that all students that come from these Ivy League schools are bad. That's not true. But there are
No,
bad.
I
There
wouldn't
are
say
bad
that either.
bad actors.
Hmm.
In all these schools, and there's some really good actors. I
Well,
I
there's a factor of this COVID, of this SARS-CoV-2. Is that what it's called? SARS. Yeah.
yeah, SARS-CoV-2.
That's connected to North Carolina, right?
Wait, SARS-CoV-2 is.
Isn't
Oh,
isn't there a
University of North.
connection?
Yeah, University of. Well, yeah. If you're talking about the weapons program between Fort Detrick and the University of
Right.
North Carolina with Dr. Shee, yeah, yeah.
So there's all kinds of university
Oh,
involvement,
absolutely, absolutely.
and and
And
and so
Duke, and Duke,
I wasn't pointing the
Texas
finger at
A&M, and
Harvard. I'm just
right,
asking how you cope with it. That's
right,
all.
right. I mean, the thing is that there's always going to be people, lobbing tomatoes at me because of the Harvard, studies. But
Okay.
that's okay. But the thing is that I went to state school too. I
Yeah.
went to Wayne State University for my undergrad and my
You
MBA,
did. That's up in
and
Michigan,
yeah,
right?
in Detroit.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not like I'm all over the map in terms of I'm average, average Joe, going to a state school, and I also had the opportunity to go to an Ivy League school for my graduate studies. But
Oh,
and
how did you get into Harvard?
well, I mean, the thing, well, you got to do you got to do your schoolwork. You got to do, you got to get good grades. But the thing is that if you apply
Right.
yourself, anybody can do it.
Okay.
It's not like it's only for an elite crowd. I mean,
Hmm.
anyone that applies themselves can go to an elite school. The thing is that there are people that have connections that will help the process along. Because
Yeah.
like Obama has their kid, one of the kids, going to Harvard for undergrad.
Right.
Do you really think that she got in there because she's not an Obama? No, of course she got in there because she's an Obama.
Right.
All of the kids from Gore went to Harvard.
Yeah.
Well, he's a Harvard, alumnus.
But we've
So
heard nothing from him, have we?
no, that is strange, isn't it? Isn't it
Yeah.
that
I'm
strange?
like, what's going on
Yeah,
with
yeah,
Al Gore?
yeah. No. I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking that and also Clinton, Bill Clinton has been pretty damn quiet.
Yeah, I've heard him chirp a few times here and there over the past couple of months, but for the
But
most part, yeah,
it's
he's
only a
real
chirp.
quiet.
Yeah, I mean it's normally
Yeah.
he's a media whore, literally.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, they are being quiet. But
Yeah.
but they're
Maybe those 100% ego people are really struggling right now. You know, that's a real possibility. I don't know 100%, but majority egoic living type people are struggling right now because of all the noise that's being made by people like Trump, and he's calling people out right and left.
who's getting a lot of blowback right now is Bill Gates. I don't think he ever thought that he was going to get as much blowback.
Well, he can't get enough.
Yeah, he is he's right in there with Fauci. With pushing a vaccine program and a chipping program.
Yeah. Well,
And
Warren Buffett's going to start getting called out pretty soon too.
See, I picture just Warren Buffett. He's so old that I'm waiting for him to croak. I'm surprised that he's not dead yet.
Yeah, well, he's not dead yet.
The two guys that I think that I'm surprised are still alive is Warren Buffett and George Soros.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they're in a very protected group. They get the best of everything.
Yeah,
So.
And another guy that seems to be, on life support is Kissinger.
Oh man, that guy's a piece of work.
Yeah, he is. But he's Harvard. He's Harvard.
Yeah. What you're doing right now is reminding people of names of people that have been part of what's going on right now. They were the build-up for it. But they're still hanging in here, and they still have influence.
That's right.
And it's I'm really nervous about where we're going. So
is it true? I mean, someone was typing in the chat about Dick Cheney, and I'm surprised he's still alive too. But I know that he had a heart transplant. Is it true that the heart transplant came from an Iraq vet?
I don't have any idea. I haven't paid any attention to Dick Cheney because I get nauseous every time.
I'd like to. I mean, if someone in the chat knows on who donated the heart for Dick Cheney, I'd like to know. I thought I heard that it was actually an Iraq vet.
Well, it's too bad if it was.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But I just, talking about irony there,
you know what I think about when I think about Cheney? I think about things like the towers going down, and I think about things like depleted uranium that's contaminated all areas of the Middle East,
funneling money into
the Gulf War syndrome.
Yep. And funneling money to Halliburton.
Right, exactly. Those are the kinds of things I think of, and it makes me it makes me nauseous, like powerfully. So I try to avoid it. That's how hard it is for me to think about that kind of guy. So it's just it's sad, and it happened. And I'm going to raise my flag and say I'm going to flip him the bird and say this is me, and I'm back on board with this.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome.
Bring people to focus on what's really important.
That's awesome. That's great. I'm glad that you called and shared that story because, people sometimes lose faith in the government and they just kind of, they check out. They think that they can't do something. But if everyone does something, that the power of numbers works to our benefit. No matter how small it may be, it multiplies. There's a multiply effect.
Right. And I did check out, Paul, but what I did was I sat in the quiet and I asked God to steer my ship for me.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing a good job of it. And I knew I needed the guidance.
Right. Exactly.
And
and
when
think
you
ask
ask for it, you get it.
Exactly. And they think about it, when you were saying that, aren't you scared, Paul? And I said that, it's God that I feel protected, by God. I'm not fearful. I feel that I have to do this, that it's the right thing to do.
Well, and there you go, exactly. See, those are the words, Paul. The next right thing. do the next right thing.
Right.
This is the right thing to do. Let that be my guide.
Right. Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
I have principles and I have values and I live by a moral code that is and it's decent, you know. It's called to treat your brothers and sisters with dignity and respect, and that isn't what we're getting from a huge population of people on this planet.
You know
There is.
what is interesting about this is that when you do it, there things that happen in your life, it'll come back to you in tenfold. So like if you do something helpful will come to you in tenfold.
Yeah.
But if you do something negative to someone, tenfold negative will come back. You know, there's this kind of like, you know, people would call it karma, or, you know, but there's this positive negative feedback that happens when you try to do something good or if you do something
Right.
evil. So doing the next good thing, you know, everyone needs to start thinking that way, and this world will be a better place.
It's called natural law, Paul.
Yeah.
What do you want? You know, because you get what you give.
Right. Exactly.
And that's just the way it is. And it may come slow, it may come real quick, probably is going to come slow, which is a good thing. You know, I need to process stuff over time before I get it, you know. And so I'm a pretty big believer in natural law. But here's another thing. This is a good example of what this total conversation is. I get distracted and I lose it, and it takes a while to come back to center again. And it takes exposure to people like you and Jim White up at Northwest Liberty News and David Dubine. God, I love David Dubine.
Oh, he's a smart guy. Yeah, he's a smart dude. Yeah, I like talking to him. He's an interesting guy to talk to.
He's one of my heroes. Trust me. Just like you're one of my heroes too. But believe me.
Did you see my David Dubine interview?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been listening to your stuff for a while. I comment in a thread once in a while, but I pretty much stay quiet. You know. So.
And you noticed that we did it on Earth Day, right?
Yeah.
I interviewed him on Earth Day, so.
Right. I mean, why not?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, he paints a pretty bleak picture, you know. But
I know, that's why we did it on Earth Day.
Yeah, if you follow history, if you look at the facts, man, the picture should be bleak. But the point is, take care of yourself, do things, protect yourself, be prepared, focused. I don't want to be shocked. And a whole huge population in this country, well, in the world, is going to be totally shocked when the shit hits the fan, which is what it's doing right now. So.
Exactly. Well, you know, we need to get engaged citizens. You know, I want to hear something in the news that's going on with Ohio. You know, making sure we're doing Occupy America. You know, and protecting our constitutional freedoms. And you just, you know, talk to your neighbors and, you know, and talk to your representatives and, you know, try to organize something that where it's a peaceful protest, but it's a protest that's preventing these things that we've been talking about, where we don't want the decaching and we don't want the forced vaccines and we don't want the chipping and you know the whole story.
I left a couple of comments for my congressman. His name's Congressman Gonzalez, 16th District here up in Ohio, and I haven't heard back from him yet, but that's okay.
So, like, you know, I got a super chat here, and I want to ask you the question before I answer it. So this person's asking, what's the red line for us with the government overreach?
Oh, it's already here. We've passed that point. It's time to stand up, absolutely, to stand up and say, stop the crime. No more. Here's the deal, Paul. I understand why Trump can't reel in these scoundrels. I get that. And here's one of the things that I get about it. This is my personal view of it. You want another COVID-19? All you got to do is take this next step, Donald. We can throw one out. We can throw another one at you. That's just how I imagine it's possible. That's what's going on. All right.
So you know what, you know,
So what the people have to do is say, we don't want this. It's stop. No more. How can you do it? The country's already shut down economically right now. But when I was on the road today, I saw a lot of commerce going on, or the appearance of a lot of commerce going on.
Right.
Now, all those trucks might have been empty for all I know. I doubt it. But,
I doubt it too, because it costs a lot of money to ship, to drive those trucks, the gasoline.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. But it's just like, maybe people shouldn't go back to work. Maybe this is our opportunity to say, you know what? Fuck you. We're not going to go support you anymore. You're either gonna regroup and let these scoundrels be totally exposed, or we're going to stop putting money in your pocket. It's going to be hard, but this is going to be hard for us anyway. No matter what happens next, it's going to be hard for every citizen in this country. So would you rather get short-term gratification, satisfaction, or would you rather get long-term satisfaction? What are you looking for? Short-term pain for long-term gain? We're going to feel the pain anyway.
Right.
So maybe we should say, okay, we're not going to play your game anymore, and we'll go back to work when we see some accountability here.
Right.
Something along those lines. I don't know if that's even possible. Could you get enough people to do that? It's hard to get people to stay home right now.
I think that that we need. There's a perfect opportunity to tell the government, you know what, all these social programs that you've been trying to,
Right.
create and keep on taxing us to the ends of the earth. No, the money isn't there. You're cutting the spending. And if that means that these pension plans and stuff, for these police officers and firefighters and all this have to be somewhat curtailed and be restructured, then so be it. And some of these, some of these other social programs, they need to be curtailed too. This country needs we need a smaller government. It's gotten too big, too bloated, and people should say, I'm not paying my damn taxes.
Right. Well, what we need is a government that serves the people instead of use the people as servants. So, and the only way to make that happen is to say, I'm not playing your game anymore.
Right.
I don't see any other way. So, is that possible?
Well, I mean, anything's possible. The thing is that we need to have grassroots organizing in different states, different cities, all across the country. That's not organized at a central location, but it's just local. But it has a central theme, and that central theme is what I've been saying and trying to.
That would make it authentic, wouldn't it?
Right, and then what that will do is that groundswell all over the country, this Occupy America concept. People already know what Occupy Wall Street meant, but that was pretty much just the Lehman crash. Occupy America is so much bigger than that. It's everything. It's the financial problem. It's the forced vaccines. It's the chipping. It's the surveillance state. It's the overtaxation. It's everything. It's the E7 and all this stuff. It's the bloated agencies that surveil us, to every moment of our lives. It's ridiculous. The out of the control FISA courts and all this. It's everything in Occupy America.
There's corruption. It's endless.
Right. So The reason why Occupy Wall Street died out was that the financial crisis eventually ended.
Yeah.
But
Except
Occupy
it didn't.
America, it has so many components to it that the government could be tilted over, and we actually have more civil liberties. We'll have a smaller government in the end. So
Wow,
but
that's
everyone that
almost a fantasy, my friend.
well, I don't I think it's possible. I think it's possible
Okay.
because I know this. I do know this. If they do forced vaccines and they do that chipping, there's going to be an awful lot of mothers out there that are going to start burning down the town.
Oh yeah, that's like if some that is
That's gonna be-
absolutely a red line, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. I mean, there's going to be so many pitchforks out there that that no politician is going to want to go down that road. So I mean, it's either they listen to the protests that are in the Occupy America, movement, or they're going to get pitchforked by mothers.
Yeah. Well, this is the
And
kind
I'd
of
love
thing
to
that
see
needed
that.
to
I would
start,
I would love to see on how CNN spins that one.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the kind of thing that needed to start about 4 decades ago.
Well, but Gen X wasn't ready for it yet.
Well,
Gen
and
X
I
is ready
get
for it
that.
now.
And either was the boomers.
Right.
Everybody was spoiled and distracted and feeling sassy and arrogant and untouchable and all those things. Oh, it can't happen here. It can't happen here. Well, guess what, folks? It's happening here.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. So, and we're feeding a machine that is just totally out of control. One of the problems is, Paul, is this the system that just continually feeds money to the monster. It feeds the stock market. It feeds the bond market. It all of it.
I mean, that's why this movement, this Occupy America, also needs to start promoting the idea of the truncation of these big banks, the restructuring of these big banks, and they move into local. There needs to be a trust bust, just like what Teddy Roosevelt did, with Standard Oil.
Right.
J.P. Morgan, Citibank, Bank of America, they all have to be trust busted.
Okay. Well, listen, Paul, don't let the conversation die.
Oh, the conversation isn't going to die.
I'll do what I can to keep the conversation going.
Well,
And
we're going to let this
everybody
conversation keep
that's
on
in
going.
This chat room will do what they can do to keep
The
this
only
conversation
time that this conversation is going to die is when we take back our country, and
Okay.
we get what we want. Then the conversation dies because there's no we accomplished our mission. Our mission is to save our country, and until that is done, this conversation will continue.
There was just an attempt to I think that what happened was an attack. That's my view of this. I know a lot of people say, "Oh man, it got out somehow, careless, reckless, whatever." I think it was intentional. I think it was planned. I think it might have gotten out earlier than it was planned for.
I think they were planning something, and it got out earlier. But they're taking it as an opportunity. They're taking it as an opportunity to try to speed forward Agenda 21.
Oh, the virus is out of the bag. There's no taking it back.
Right. They're trying to speed up the whole Agenda 21 policy.
Yeah, because it was renamed. It was renamed Agenda 30, wasn't it?
Right. Agenda 20.
Yeah, but I think that just got. Yeah, I think a subtraction just happened.
But
and maybe
there's
21 again.
Agenda 21, it was the main feature, and then they spun it as Agenda 30. But the bottom line is it's a one world government, and it's an erosion of the Constitution and weaken America. I mean, the only way the one world government's going to happen is if America falls. America can't fall. So there's this conversation of Occupy America, not just to save the Constitution, is to prevent a one world government.
Yeah.
I mean, it even transcends the whole idea of the Constitution. It's actually to prevent global tyranny.
Well, I said that, all right, and I'm not a big, huge fan of Ronald Reagan, but he said that we're the last bastion.
Right.
This is it, pal.
Yeah,
We're it.
he's right. He's right.
We either take care of this, or the world goes to where the world is going.
Right. Exactly.
You know.
Exactly.
And then they took a shot at him, and he changed his tune on a lot of things, and I guess I get that to a point, but.
Well, you know what I think what it was George Bush Sr. was taking a shot at him.
Well, probably he's.
I mean, wasn't what was the guy's name that was the guy that shot Reagan?
Reagan.
What was his name? I can't remember right now.
You know, the only thing
Henley?
I can remember about him right now
Was
is
it Henley?
they said he was a Jodie Foster fanatic.
Right. But wasn't he an MK Ultra guy, or no?
I don't know. He was psychotic, from what I could tell. You know,
I can't remember
I don't
his
think
name.
he was in touch with reality in any
Oh,
way.
Hinckley. So does
I think he
anyone?
was directed.
Yeah, someone just typed in Hinckley. That's right. But was Hinckley an MK Ultra guy or not?
MK Ultra's still going, man.
The Unabomber was. You know, the Unabomber was a Harvard guy.
Yeah.
He
yeah,
he was MK Ultra also.
Look at all this stuff, man. Look at all this stuff that comes up. You just then you can go into Waco and all of it.
Oh yeah.
It's just insanity.
I know, but the thing is not to get buried in the details. We have to, sometimes just, rise up and look at the global picture of it and not look at all the
Right.
details. Because people get fascinated with the details and they start to investigate more and more and more. And,
Yeah.
you can get a PhD in this, So, I mean, it's it's just better to not get too detailed and just realize they're moving and we have to act. It's what I call being on the battlefield versus being a historian.
Right.
The historians aren't the ones that make history. The historians
Right.
read history. The ones that
Yeah.
are on the battlefield make history. And we're at the point in time that we're making history. We're on the battlefield. And so not to get stuck into not get stuck into the details of it, but the reality of the
Okay, but-
situation is that they're making a
Give me
move.
this much though, okay? I need the reminders, man, because there's so much stuff that I can forget about. Why am I thinking the things I'm thinking? Is it just because I know? No, it's because
You're connecting the
I've
dots.
experienced.
You're connecting
I've
the dots.
experienced these things.
You're connecting your personal experiences, and you've seen these
Yeah.
observational dots that you're connecting, and seeing
Yeah.
that there's this global plan, this movement that's been moving, into a certain direction, and you're trying, and you sense that it's bad, and that you're sensing that you want to change it.
Yeah, because it is bad, and I do want to change it.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to be part of that change.
Right. I'm telling you, we're living at a very historical moment in time. We're going to look back on this.
Well, here's the deal, Paul. If we don't do it, we're screwed.
Yeah.
And it's in our lifetime that we're screwed. I'm 68 years old. And
I think it's not just in our lifetime.
I got a good chance of
Yeah,
experiencing
I think
if we don't stop this.
if we don't stop this within months, we're screwed.
Months is exactly right. I'm with you 100% there. We're in serious trouble.
Right.
And it's,
Right.
it's
What
time
I'm
to
saying is
stop
that
this ball from rolling.
Occupy America has to be this Tet Offensive has to be in weeks.
Yeah.
We're talking about weeks that this has to be organized and start to roll out.
Okay.
In weeks. But we have to stop the global plan. We don't have more than 6 months. Because if they do what they want to do within the 6-month point, I believe that we'll go kinetic and there will be a civil war in this country.
Well, I don't want that.
Well, I don't want it either. But the thing is that if you start doing forced vaccines, you're going to start having a civil war.
Well, then the way I think the most effective way to stop it is to say we're not playing anymore, and let's sit down and
I
talk.
personally think that a protest across the country in an Occupy America kind of way, talking about the points that we were talking about,
Uh-huh.
if it's across the country, and it's happening in the near future here, in the very near future, then we have a big chance of changing the tide and preventing the big move from against us. But if we don't galvanize, then they are going to make the move and do the forced vaccines, and the only recourse that we have is a civil war. And I'll tell you what, Gen X is ready for it.
Okay.
Now the thing is are we going to galvanize and do this peacefully, or are we? Either way, we're saving our Constitution. This is what people don't understand. We are saving that American flag. We're going to keep our 50 states. We're going to preserve the Union. We're not going to let this country fall. We're going to preserve our Constitution.
We can get rid of coastal California, can't we?
No. We're going to, we're preserving the Union. We're preserving the Union. We're preserving our flag, and we're preserving our Constitution. But the thing is that it's either, they have two choices. The people that are trying to make the move against us, they have two choices. Either we do this peacefully and we get what we want, or we will have a war and we will get what we want. It's their choice. But we will get what we want.
Yeah, okay, but a war feeds the scoundrels. I don't want to feed them.
We are protecting this country.
Okay.
We are not going to let this country fall. This country we are not going to lose our country. Now, I think that we have a very, very good chance of doing this very peacefully, and that there's enough people on both sides that have calm heads that can prevent this atrocity from happening. This forced vaccine program and the surveillance state and all this. We're at the point where we can make the decision to do this peacefully. But if they force it on us, they don't listen to the population, or the population doesn't revolt, then the powers that are behind the scene that don't want the erosion of our Constitution are going to take this kinetic. And you're talking about people that are not just citizens, you're talking about people that are in the military. The military is on my side. They're not on the government side on this. People think that the military is on the government side. They're wrong.
No. I spent quite a bit of time with military, mostly National Guards, but regular Army and Marine Corps and Air Force, in a position I held for a few years, and that's what you just said is there's no question about that soldiers and sailors and Marines and airmen, for the majority, are like, I'm on the side of the Constitution. I'm not on the side of what's going on in government.
Right. But but here is the big point for the average citizen out there. Do your local organizing have this common theme that we were talking about, with just not having the BioPatriot Act elements instituted, and we roll back to a pre-9/11 day and dismantle the surveillance state, and we start prosecuting people like Fauci and the gang, where we investigate and prosecute the people that were heavily involved in this crisis at all different levels of government, and even at the international level.
There's a preponderance of evidence.
Absolutely. But the thing is that the point is that to do this peacefully, we all have to do Occupy America. Because if we don't, they're going to force the vaccine program. And I'm telling you, that is going to go kinetic. People don't realize a forced vaccine program will start a civil war in this country.
Okay, yeah, and it should. God, I would hope it would.
But, I don't want a civil war, but it's going to be a civil war if they do the forced vaccine program. That's why I'm begging my fellow citizens out there, do the Occupy America movement, because if you do, you have a huge chance of stopping them in their tracks. And we can get what we want, and we can stop this big move that they're doing,
Well,
and get people in.
everybody that's in this chat right now, I would hope would promote Occupying America in all of their social media and
Right,
in their
exactly.
emails and
Exactly.
everything. I'll do the same. I'll do it. I have no problem with that. I like that idea. Peacefully.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is that we have to have a peaceful protest across the country that is not it's not centrally organized. It's locally organized, but it's happening across the nation at the same time. And we have a central message, and that central message is the things that we've been talking about throughout this whole conversation. And it's something that I repeat almost on every video. So if people don't understand what I'm talking about, it's like, it's very easy to just keep on replaying the tape and and write it down, and it's very simple. But the thing is that there is a central message, but it can be all done at a grassroots level, and everyone could be involved and to preserve our Constitution and prevent this government tyranny. And we see the government tyranny every day now, with this whole crisis. So everyone, this is not hypothetical. This is real, and it's happening now. And people need to get engaged now, because they're making their move. They're making their move. They're going to say, you don't have the antibody, you want to go to work, you need to have the vaccine.
Right.
This is where it's going. And that vaccine is going to be available in January or February. So that's why I'm saying we do not have time to wait. The Occupy movement has to be happening in weeks, not months, and our demands have to be met within months, not years. Because if they start doing that force right, if that's what I'm saying, everything has to be settled down by February. Because if they don't back off by February, this is going kinetic. This is going to go kinetic. I'm telling you, it's going to go kinetic. People will be so pissed off that they're getting forced vaccinated that this thing there will be such rage that this country has not seen something since the Civil War.
Okay, well, we don't want that, so.
No, we don't. We want peace, but I am dead set that I am not getting chipped. I am never ever going to get chipped or tattooed by the government. I mean, I would rather die than have that. I am not going to have something happen to me and the people that I love go through, what my grandmother had to go through for the Holocaust. I am not doing it. I will do everything in my power to make sure that government that's trying to institute those policies get burnt down.
Hey, Paul, I'm going to shoot you off an email tomorrow, okay?
Okay.
Just to make contact. You got other people want to get in on you, all right?
Yeah, but I've been talking for like over 2 hours. But yeah, it's getting late now. But I'm gonna probably shut down the broadcast here. So you were the two lucky people. No, it's all right. It's how many calls did I have? 3 or 2? I can't remember now. But the thing is that I enjoy these long conversations with people because it gives me an opportunity to know the caller. Instead of the 2-minute. Sometimes some shows they just want to have a call for 2 or 3 minutes and that's it.
Yeah, right.
It's better to have a long conversation because you get to learn about the person. And so I enjoy talking to you. And if you want to shoot out an email to me and further coordinate, that's fine.
Okay. Because I'm getting wiped out right now. I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, holy shit, what does this mean? I'm committing myself to.
It means that you're engaged and you're on the battlefield and that you're alive and you're going to do something that's amazing, that is protecting that Constitution. and all the people in all the different generations that built up this nation, you're feeling the power of them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Well, I
saying?
walked on a battlefield once, and it's a scary
I'll,
thing
I'll
to
tell
do.
you what, it's amazing. When I was at Gettysburg, my father is a big Civil War buff, all right?
Okay.
And we've gone to Gettysburg as kids, like about 6 or 7 times. And we used to roam around on the battlefield, and you know, as kids, you know, you always you know, pretend that you're playing a war and all that. But the thing
Right.
is that the place you can feel the quote the ghosts there. You can feel the battle. You can when you're there and you're walking the field, especially at night. You can
Yeah.
feel it. You can definitely feel it.
Absolutely. That energy never dies.
Yep.
No, it's always there. Energy lives on forever.
That's
It's
right.
interesting.
That's right.
So,
Okay, so you shoot off an email to me, and then we'll, you know, over text, or if you already have my email, that's fine. But and then we'll you know, further communicate. But I am glad to hear that you raised the American flag. I think that's awesome.
yeah.
I think that's awesome. So I'm gonna get going here and shut down everything. I'm a little tired. I've been up early in the morning today, and
Yeah.
I've been on seminars for school since 12 o'clock,
Right.
12 p.m. and the seminars didn't end until 9 o'clock p.m. And then I started the show. So I've been talking, you know, and watching the screen all day. So I'm a little tired.
Okay.
But I appreciate your call, and you keep in touch. All right.
Yeah, well, listen, I appreciate you taking my call, and I appreciate all you do. Trust me, I do appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate your support, but what's more important is supporting our Constitution.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. We'll talk another time.
All right, later. Bye.
Bye.
All right, so that was a special where we had some callers coming in and calling and sharing their life experiences, and that's what the whole story is about. We're a people, and if we work together, we're going to be able to solve this problem. So start organizing at your local level and start telling the powers that be in your government that you don't want these policies of top-down government and these, you know, forced vaccines and all these other problems, E7 and the tracking and all these other problems. So it's time to take back our country. So thank you for listening and being a part of this, you know, special broadcast of having callers call in. And you know, we need to take back our country. It's time for Occupy America. Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.